Hi guys, this video is for you to play along as you do the second part of the assignment this week, and that part of the assignment will be getting you comfortable and introduced to layer adjustments. So what we're going to do is just take an image into Photoshop and then play around with the layer adjustments, in turn also playing with the mood of the image. So that's basically what this is about. So you're going to be doing mood adjustments with the layer adjustments in Photoshop. You're going to be doing 3 different images with 3 different adjustments per image. So then that will equate to 9 total when you're done. And then as I do them, I'm going to show you how to export them out just as a JPEG onto your desktop or wherever you're saving, because that's all you really need to do to turn them into me. I don't need the Photoshop file, and I certainly don't need a TIFF for these. These are just exercises to get you comfortable with some of the things in Photoshop. So here we go. So I'm going to open Photoshop, and then what I'm going to do now, instead of File New, what I'm going to do is go to File Open. And then I'm going to find the image that I want to use, and I'm just going to use this one, and hit Open, and it'll open in Photoshop for me. So I'm going to zoom in. And then remember, if you hit Command or Control 0, it'll take it full screen. It's a little pixelated and it's going to make me a little crazy while I work on it, so I'm going to zoom out just a little. But what I would like for you to do now, remember we talked about your libraries are here. And then what I want to go over and take a look at is your adjustments. So adding layer adjustments to an image or on top of an image. This is the original, so I don't really want to do anything to this. I want to keep it where it is just in case something happens and I need it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command or Control if you're on a PC, J. And you'll notice that it gives me layer 1, it gives me a copy of the background. So what I'm going to do is just turn off the background. It's there if I need it. Oh, here comes the train. I'm going to apologize. So I'm just going to keep rolling, all right? So I'm going to talk a little louder and the train will go on by. So I have this, and then what I want to do first is, and there's no right or wrong way to do this project. I just want you up here playing with some of these adjustments and seeing what they can do. And most importantly, what these adjustments are going to do is, sorry, what these adjustments are going to do is create layer masks and layers on top of this, so it allows you to work non-destructively. And that is the most important thing about this, is that you do want to work non-destructively. You don't want to do anything to the original image in case later you want to come back and change something. You change your mind, you turn it into a client, they change their mind, which happens all the time. So just to show you how this goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if you go up here, if you're on your libraries, go over here and switch to adjustments. And remember, we talked about brightness, contrast, levels, curves, exposure, vibrance, all these wonderful things. So what you're going to do is just kind of play around in here. Let's start with brightness and contrast. So you click on that and you notice immediately here comes a layer adjustment here. So this is on top of the image, and then we can play with brightness if you want to brighten up a photo, and you can play with the contrast. Make it a high contrast, bring it down. So let's say I'm going to do something like that. So I'm going to click out and I have that layer, but I can continue to use, and I encourage you, don't just do one adjustment, like try to set a mood. So then I'm going to go to hue saturation here, and I can play around and change the color a little. So I'm going to warm it up, saturate it a little more, maybe darken it just a little, and then hit this and go out. So also too, I can change and turn off the eye, and I actually prefer it without that brightness. So I'm going to click on the brightness, hit delete. I'm not going to be using it. And so then maybe what I want to play around with perhaps at that point would be curves. And it defaults to RGB, which is red, green, blue. But if you hit this drop down menu, we can play around with the red, the green, and the blue. So let's hit red, and this comes up. And so then what I can do in here, if you notice what starts happening to the image, I might bring it down into something like this. And then I can also then go to blue and play around as well. And just like I said, just play. Oh, I like that. And so then if that's something that you like, or you can go back and hit auto And you can see on that one, we can come back here and play around again. Maybe I'm going to go more pink, more red. I think I just, whoa. I think I'm going to go there. And like I said, back to red. And then just play. And so try to set and change a mood or a tone. Bring this all the way down here. And then I like that and I hit OK. And then you can come down here and say, here it is, here's the original, here's the curves that I played with, here's also hue saturation on top of that. Let's say this is one of the ones that I want to do. Instead of opening this document and doing it over and over and over for you to turn this into me, what I'm going to have you do is after you've done this and you're happy with the mood of that one, just go up to File, and then we're going to do Export, and then you're going to export it as, for this, and we'll talk about some of the other ones later, you're just going to export it as a JPEG, and then at the end what you're going to do is combine them all into one PDF and turn that into me. So we have this. I'm going to hit Export All, and then Layer Adjustment 1, and do it to the desktop, save, there it is. So now if I collapse this for a minute, you're going to see right here, here's my layer adjustment 1, ready to go. So that one's there. Now I'm going to go back to Photoshop, and then I'm going to turn the eye off of these two, or if you would like, also hold the Shift key, click on one, hold the Shift, and delete, and you can just get rid of them and start fresh again. So on this one, maybe I'm going to add a, let's do exposure. And I want you to play around with exposure. So you can come in and do something along those lines. And then I think with exposure, I might come down here and maybe with that, let's see. Let's do threshold. And make it something along those lines, maybe. Let's see. You know, I'm just going to play. And sorry, I mean, on this, I'm just sitting here. Sometimes you just have to, in a demo, you're going to watch. So I've got this. I'm not too happy with it, so I'm just going to delete it. And then go back up to maybe Vibrance. And let's really bring it up. Saturation, bring it down. Something along these lines. I'm going to hit OK. And then maybe go back to hue saturation again. Oops, sorry, we're at levels. Sorry about that. Get this down. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. And then you can do color balance, but let's do hue saturation first. And then see if I can get something out of here that I like a little. Maybe something along these lines. Saturate it up. And then on the next one, come over here and do color balance and play around with a little more red, a little more magenta, play with the green, bring in some yellow, and then do something along those lines. And then, like I said, this is just you playing and starting to see what you can and can't do with these things, or how you're able. So I'm at exposure now. Yeah, there we go. So I'll do something like that, and then get it to where you like it. Remember, you're in charge over here. All of these things that I've done, I mean, I can turn layers on and off and see what it looks like without them. Actually, I like that with this hue saturation, the first one off. So let's say you're happy with the mood of this one. So then the same thing, File, go ahead and export it. Export as, we've got a JPEG, and then Layer Adjustment 2. Save it to my desktop, and once again, bring this down, and here it is. And I just keep working on the same document, and so I'm going to bring this up, And then same thing, so I'm going to click here, hold the shift key, scroll up, click here, delete. There go all of the layers that I had the layer adjustments I just worked with, and now I'm able to start fresh again. So let's see on the gradient, what we could do on this one is, if you want to play around with that a little, but we'll talk about that probably a little more. So let me delete that in another class. So properties, you can play around again. Here's another one, lightening up, bring in some really bright yellows, and then play around with the black within it. And then maybe the cyan I want to bring up. I'm going to bring it all the way down like that and really make it glow on properties. Then I'm going to go back to this one, which is the color balance, but then like I said, create a black and white adjustment layer. You can turn something black and white if you would like. Then I don't want to do that one. Then right here on this one, if you hover, it'll tell you exactly what you're about to get yourself into. Here's a channel mixer. Here is a color lookup adjustment layer, and you can go through some of these. We're not going to be using the inverted one, so we're just going to be using a few of these. Color balance. So I'm going to bring that up, bring up the yellow, and then give it kind of this feel of, all right, she looks like a sunflower now at this point. So I'm going to do something like that, and then hit OK. Then go back to maybe my levels. Then you can play around with the levels here. Darken it a little if you would like. I'm not happy with the levels, so I'm going to hit delete. And then, like you said, as you can see, what's starting to happen is you may like what happens and you may not. And then if you don't, you are in control. You can get rid of the layer. You can keep playing. You could do something along those lines. And play with the exposure. And then let me delete the exposure. And then vibrance. Maybe you want it really vibrant and you want it really saturated. You could do something like that. I'm going to bring the saturation down. And then you can play around with these. And I just want you playing around with these different ones, and then hue saturation. You can always go back to, and maybe I'll do something like that. So then I have that, and then saturation, I can bring it down and just have this little hint of this and kind of play around that way. So if I'm okay with that, and then here's what I'll do File, and then once again, we're going to export as. We talked about PNGs in class, and you know, right now all you need to do for me for this is just to export it as a JPEG. So here you go, and layer adjustment 3, and then hit save. And it went to my desktop as well. So what's going to end up happening is I'm done with that one. I'm just asking that you do 3 layer adjustments for 3 different photos. So now I'm done with that one, and let's say I'm going to move on to a different photo. And an easy way to bring a photo in, let's say I have something on my desktop that I want to use. Let me find an image. And I'll just bring this in. And so all you do now, instead of File, Open, Photoshop is open, the bar is up here. If you just take the next image you want to use and move it and just hover on the bar here, it automatically opens, and then you're ready to go again. So then you hit Command J, make a duplicate of the layer, turn off the background just to have it underneath, and then immediately I'm going to go to hue saturation on this one just because it's going to change the color of the flesh. I really love that one. So zoom in a little so you can see it, and then we can play with saturation, go on and on. Might take the saturation down just a little bit. And then if I'm okay with that, hit OK, and then File, Export, Export As. I have it set up here the way I want it, and then Adjustment 4, Save, And then this looks like something from Wicked. I love it. So anyway, so you get the idea. So you'll do 2 more layer adjustments to this image. You'll drag 1 more image in and then complete it. When you're done, you would have exported 9 images. After you've exported 9 images, what I want you to do is combine them all into a single PDF, and I'll make a separate video for that. All right, thanks. Bye.